Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Bringing out the bent black poker that I made a couple years ago. No particular reason on this one in terms of connection with the video. Just enjoy this guy and wanted to smoke him. This is the second in a series of videos I'm doing on this particular topic. So, if you enjoyed the first one, hopefully you enjoyed the second one. And what is that, you ask? We got to find out. Folks, as always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. What I'm talking about is the second in a series of videos on one of the, well, not one of the poems, but four of the poems of Alexander Pope. His essay on man, which he wrote between 1730 and 1732, and then published in the next couple of years following that. We'll link to the first one, the first essay on man. But reading to you today from this edition, and this is not a pipe and verse episode, because we're not going deep into the poetry. It's rhyming iambic pentameter couplets. I'm not going to go deeply into that. But really, what he has to say. There's so much in the second epistle in his essay on man that, how should I put it, just so perfectly aligns with my own thinking. For quite a number of years now, I have to admit, I have been amused by my fellow adults. We are interesting. I find people interesting in general. But mostly, what amuses me about my fellow adults is that we can be so arrogant at times, and almost always needlessly so, pointlessly so, unjustifiedly so. And that is definitely something that Pope calls out in the second epistle of his essay on man. Now, the opening two lines, I'm going to read you several passages from this. And the opening couplet is very, very famous. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. So you may have heard those lines before. In fact, the first 18 lines you may have run across before. So here we go. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. Placed on this isthmus of a middle state, a being darkly wise and rudely great, with too much knowledge for the skeptic's side, with too much weakness for the stoic's pride, he hangs between, in doubt to act or rest, in doubt to deem himself a god or beast, in doubt his mind or body to prefer, born but to die, and reasoning but to err. Alike in ignorance his reason such, whether he thinks too little or too much. Chaos of thought and passion all confused, still by himself abused or disabused. Created half to rise and half to fall, great Lord of all things, yet a prey to all. Sole judge of truth in endless error hurled, the glory, jest, and riddle of the world. Now, those lines right there set it out perfectly, and then the entire rest of the poem, about, 300 or so lines, explores that theme of how human beings are this mixed bag. Our virtues and our vices, our reason and our folly, and how great we think we really are. We are the glory, made in the image of God with the glory, also the jest and the riddle of the world. You think about how weak a baby human is compared to babies in other species, yet we rule the whole world. So we're quite the mixed bag. And then he has this say a few lines later: superior beings, when of late they saw a mortal man unfold all nature's law, admired such wisdom in an earthly shape, and showed a Newton as we show an ape. So he's imagining angels who's looking down at us and saying, look at that. Look at that man Newton. Look how he has figured things out. Isn't that interesting? Come. Take a look at this human down here and look at all he has done. Isn't that amazing? He says it's about the same as for you and me to show each other an ape that has done something rather amazing for an ape. Look at this ape in the zoo. Did you see this thing that he did? Didn't know apes could do that. And when you realize how small human beings really are, the things that we do that we think are so magnificent, to the heavenly beings, to angels, and of course to God, it's rather sweet. It's rather amusing. Oh, look at what they have done. And it kind of pokes a hole in our arrogance, I would say, a bit. And then he goes on, and let's see here. This is line 60 to 66. He then compares what he calls self-love and reason. So self-love being our self-interest, we might say, today. Self-love, the spring of motion, acts the soul. Reason's comparing balance rules the whole. So our self-interest is what compels us to move, right? I had the desire to smoke this pipe. I might desire it to smoke 50 of these in the day and do nothing else, and then my reason kicks in and says, hey, Steve, you got other stuff you got to do, right? So reason balances the whole. Man, but for that, meaning the self-interest, no action could attend, and but for this, meaning reason, were active to no end. Okay, let's stop and think about that for just a minute. If we didn't have our passions, right, our self-interest, we'd never do anything. But then again, if it weren't for reason, we'd just be doing stuff to no particular purpose, right? There's no guiding to our action. In fact, he goes on to say it like this: fixed like a plant on his peculiar spot to draw nutrition, propagate, and rot. Right? So if we didn't have any motivation within us, we'd just sit here, grow, and die. Or meteor-like, flame lawless through the void, destroying others by himself destroyed. However, if we didn't have reason, if we only had our passions, and I think we've seen how that has played out in human history, we would just flame like a meteor and destroying everything else and each other. And so again, kind of a curious combination we humans are, with these two great forces that work within us and hopefully for us. It's difficult for me to talk about Pope or smoking because I love him so much, and there's just so much I want to say. I enjoy reading and smoking, reading Pope and smoking, but talking about Pope and smoking, kind of pause and get the guy relit here a little bit. I want to jump over toward the end of the poem, and we're going to jump over to the line, let's see here, 217 to 230. Now, at this point, he starts talking about our vices and how we don't really understand, maybe don't see our own vices for what they are. As I read this passage, I want you to think about the current age in which we live. Vice is a monster of so frightful mien as to be hated needs but to be seen. Right? So the vices are just, I mean, if you look at human vice, you're like, oh my goodness, that's really horrible. Yet seen too oft, familiar with her face, we first endure, then pity, then embrace. When we see vice everywhere, not just in ourselves, but other people, what's the thing that happens first? Well, we begin to endure it. We put up with it. Then as we continue to see it more and more, we begin to pity it. We have a little sympathy with it. And as we see it even more and more, we embrace our sin. We embrace our vice. But where the extreme of vice was ne'er agreed. And where's the north? At York? 'Tis on the Tweed. In Scotland? At the Orchidace, and there at Greenland, Zembla, or the Lord knows where. We never can find, where's the extreme of vice? Well, smoking one pipe is fine. Smoking 5 pipes is fine. Smoking 20 pipes a day is fine. Smoking 50 pipes a day is fine. Right? Where's the limit? Right? If you're smoking 1 pipe a day, you might say, well, 5 is too much. If you're smoking 5 pipes a day, you're going to say, well, no, 20, that's too much. If you're smoking 20 pipes a day, people who smoke 75 pipes a day, that's too much. Right? Where is the limit when it comes to vice? And he says, no creature owns it in the first degree, but thinks his neighbor farther gone than he. Nobody will own or admit their own vice when it's in the early stages, right? But you always think that the other person, you always think that, as I say, your neighbor, no, he's much worse off than I am, right? I'm not that bad. This is why Jesus says, right, hey, before you go taking the speck out of your neighbor's eye, deal with the log in your own, right? It's that kind of an idea. Even those who dwell beneath its very zone, or never feel the rage, or never own. Even those who are right in the midst of vice, he says, they don't realize it, they don't feel it, or if they do, they don't admit it, they don't own it. What happier nature shrinks at with affright, the hard inhabitant contends is right. Well, think about that. Let's stay on that one again. What happier nature shrinks at with affright, the hard inhabitant contends is right. It's not just now, well, we endure it or embrace it, but we begin to advocate for it. Oh, what other happier nature would say, hey, that's wrong, that's bad, that's a vice, that's sin. The hard inhabitant, someone who's been hardened to it, says, oh, no. Not only that, it's right. It's good. We've traded what's wrong and called it what's right. See that anywhere in nature or in society today? I'm sure you can think of some examples. Virtuous and vicious, every man must be. Few in the extreme, but all in the degree. The rogue and fool by fits is fair and wise, and even the best by fits what they despise. Even the bad person, the rogue, the fool, can be wise from time to time, and the wise person will do those things that he or she despises from time to time. We are such a mixed bag. This is part of the reason I find adults so amusing. We think we're so great. We think we got it all figured out. Well, really, we're just such a mixed bag. And I'll leave you with this. This is toward the end of the poem. This is lines 275 to 282. Home is only 294 lines. We're right towards the end here. He says, behold the child, by nature's kindly law, pleased with a rattle, tickled with a straw. Some livelier plaything gives his youth delight, a little louder, but as empty quite. We move from the little baby toys, right, to other toys, a little bit more amusing, cars and dolls and whatever, just as silly. Scarves, garters, gold amuse his riper age, and beads and prayer books are the toys of age. We keep playing with one thing and then another as we go through life, pleased with this bauble still, as that before, till tired he sleeps, and life's poor play is o'er. I've talked about action figures that I played with as a boy. Now what am I playing with? Pipes and lighters. So I'm curious what you think about Pope. Curious what you think about the second epistle in his essay on man. Curious what you think about us as human beings. The glory, jest, and riddle of the world. Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. As I like to say in Latin, Parva ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.